My name is Tia Manis, and I will be doing a brief presentation over Mary Church Terrell. Mary was born September 23, 1863, to two former slaves, Robert Church and Louisa Ayers. Mary attended Oberlin College in Ohio and was among nothing but white male students. While at Oberlin, she also was the editor of the Oberlin Review. Mary earned her bachelor's degree in 1884 and was one of the first African American women to do so. Mary earned her master's degree 4 years later in 1888. Mary taught at a secondary college in Washington, D.C. and at Wilberforce College. Mary studied in Europe for 2 years, where she became fluent in German, French, and Italian. On October 18, 1891, Mary married Robert Herberton Terrell, a lawyer who became the first black municipal court judge in Washington, D.C. Terrell had 3 children, all whom died minus one, which was a daughter named Phyllis. Through her father, Terrell met Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington. She and Douglass became very close and worked together on several civil rights campaigns. Shortly after her marriage, though, Mary decided she wanted to quit the civil rights movement. It was Douglass who persuaded her to stay on. As a high school teacher and principal, Mary Church Terrell was appointed to the District of Columbia Board of Education, 1895 to 1906. She was the first black woman in the United States to hold such a position. She was also an active member of the National American Woman Suffrage Association. Mary, along with Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin, formed the Federation of Afro-American Women. In 1896, Mary became the first president of the newly formed National Association of Colored Women, known as the NACW. Also in 1896, she helped found the National Association of College Women, which later became the National Association of University Women. Mary also had a prosperous career as a journalist, using the pen name Euphemia Kirk. She was published in both the black and white press. She was published in the Southern Workman of Hampton, VA, the Indianapolis Freeman, the Afro-American of Baltimore, the Washington Tribune, the Chicago Defender, the New York Age, the Voice of the Negro, the Women's World, and the Norfolk Journal and Guide, as well as the Washington Post, just to name a few. Mary aligned the American Women's Club movement in the overall struggle of black women and the black race for equality. In 1892, she was elected as the first woman president of the prominent Washington, D.C. black debate organization, Bethel Literary and Historical Society. In 1904, Terrell was invited to speak at the International Congress of Women held in Berlin, Germany. She was the only black woman at the conference. She received an enthusiastic ovation when she gave her speech, starting in German, speaking in French, and then concluding in English. In 1909, Terrell was one of the 2 black women, other than Ida B. Wells was the other, to attend the first organizational meeting of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, known as the NAACP, where she became a founding member. In 1913 to 1914, she helped organize Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Terrell wrote an autobiography called A Colored Woman in a White World in 1940. In her late years, Terrell's commitment to taking on Jim Crow laws and pioneering new ground didn't stop. In 1949, she became the first African American admitted to the Washington chapter of the American Association of University Women. It was Terrell who helped bring down segregated restaurants in Washington, D.C. After being refused service by a whites-only restaurant in 1950, Terrell and several freeing activists sued the establishment, laying down the groundwork for the eventual court order that ruled that all segregated restaurants in Washington, D.C. were unconstitutional. Toward the end of her life, Terrell saw the U.S. Supreme Court's historic Brown versus Board of Education ruling in 1954, which ended segregation in schools. Just 2 months later, Terrell died on July 24th in Annapolis, Maryland. Terrell's home in Washington, D.C. has become a National Historic Landmark.